Welcome back, everyone. The next chapter of 39 Steps in the Soup. Saturday, 23rd of May, 1914, Wimpole Street, London. Is Scudder, Captain Digby as he liked to be called, in his disguise. Somebody stuck quite a sizable knife into his chest. The poor staring white face was more than I could bear. Oh, the room's being tossed as well. I staggered to the cupboard, found the brandy and swallowed several mouthfuls. I had seen men die violently before. Indeed, I had killed a few myself in the Matabele War. But this was cold-blooded indoor business was different. I needed to think. I needed a drink. Be more apt. The brutal slaying. The body. His enemies had found him, and had taken the best way to make certain of his silence. Scudder had been in my rooms for 4 days, and his enemies must have reckoned that he had confided in me. I would be the next to go. I might be that very night, or the next day, or the day after, but my number was up all right. No chance. Supposedly I went out now and called the police, or went to bed and let Paddock find the body and call them in the morning. What kind of story was I to tell about Scudder? The odds were 1,000 to 1 that I would be charged with the murder, and the circumstantial evidence was strong enough to hang me. A few people knew me in England. I had no real pal who could come forward and swear by my character. Perhaps that's what those secret enemies were playing for. They were clever enough for anything, and an English prison was as good a way of getting rid of me until after the 15th of June, as a knife in my chest. If I told the whole story, and by any miracle was believed, I would be playing their game. Carolides would stay at home, which was what they wanted. Hannay's resolve. I'm an ordinary sort of fellow, not braver than other people, but I hate to see a good man downed. And that long knife would not be their end of Scudder if I could play the game in his place. Someone must have been searching for something, perhaps for the pocketbook. What's this? Oh, the life of Stonewall Jackson. That's what he was reading, obviously, when they got him. Does it do the whole book? Oh my goodness, it does, look. Do your duty, and leave the rest to Providence. Let us too trust that all is well, and look beyond the storm, beyond the darkness, blood, and the morning of the present. The sunrise seemed less bright, the future dark with clouds of gloom death. Jackson is dead, dead and gone like a common everyday mortal. Who could supply his place? Oh, a pocket knife and some change. Anything we need to look at on it? Anything interesting? Sixpence. Sixpence, okay. Just good old British money. Anything important on here? 1914. It's not like some weird date in there, is there? No, I don't see anything. There was nothing in his waistcoat pocket. The knife was pinned Scudder to the pinned him to the floor. So his waist. Okay, he's got the cigars. Karolides comes to London. Greek Premier pushes for Balkan resolve. American agent shot by gunshot. Suicide by gunshot, beg pardon. Oh, the circumstances attending the death of Christopher Rick, 29, of Wimpole Street, Paddington, formed the subject of an inquest held at Southwark Coroner's Court by Mr. T.F. Parsons on Wednesday this week. The deceased, an American businessman. What did it say, agent then? American businessman was discovered in an affluent fifth-floor apartment by his valet on the morning of Tuesday the 19th of May. Mr. Rick was known by a few of the apartment block, and neighbours describing him as a quiet man who kept himself to himself. Little is known about the American businessman affairs, aside from his brief encounter with Turnabout Publishing, with which he had brought an array of pulpwood propositions. It's suspected that Mr. Rick was not meeting his targets and was in financial difficulties. On the evening of Mr. Rick's death, he had been behaving out of character. The valet spoke, describing him as looking like death, with worries, obviously playing on his mind. Before retiring for the night, Rick had his valet mix a sleeping draught before dismissing him. He did not wish to see a doctor. Oh, so they're talking about the chest was heavy, but it's empty when looking. No reports of a gunshot were noted on the evening of the death. Rick was on the only apartment on that fifth floor. And the occupants below, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Twisden, were out for the evening. Okay, jury returned the verdict of suicide while of unsound mind. With no identifiable next of kin, the deceased's possessions have been handed over to the American consul. So why do they call him an agent? Seems to be an American businessman then. Is that itself suspicious? I don't know. Check that, check that, check that, check that. Okay. What else? Victoria Regina, one of the medals from the Boer War, probably. Nice picture of us when we were a kid. And Doggo! Oh, little Doggo. So that was us when we were a kid, and that's us now. Looks like we slept funny. And our Doggo. That's nice. Bad news is, they've probably seen what we look like. 16th of May 1914. Dear Peter. It was Samuel Johnson who wrote, "When you are tired of London, you are tired of life." Well, my dear Peter, if so, then I am tired of life from here. I am in London, bored at my wits' end. The city is noisy and chaotic, and I can't get any exercise. I am yet to meet a suitable lady to pass my time with, though I have met a fair few unsuitable ones. My bets are paying off on the track. However, my shares in the Rhodesian diamond mines continue to keep me dining in the capital's best restaurants. Despite Paddock's continual insistence that I should dine at home and try his culinary skills, one can only hope that they are better than his valet skills. Speak soon, dear friend, Richard Hannay. Okay. For whatever reason, we didn't send that. There was no trace of Scudder's black book. Most likely the enemy had found it. They had not found it on Scudder's body. I had come to the decision. I must vanish somehow, and keep vanished until the end of the second week of June. Then I must find a way to get in touch with the government people and tell them what Scudder had told me. I'd wished to heaven that he'd told me more, and that I had listened more carefully to what he had told me. There was a big risk that even if I weathered the other dangers, I would not be believed in the end. I must take my chance of that, and hope that something might happen which would confirm my tale in the eyes of the government. My notion was to get off to some wild district where my Veldcraft would come of use to me, for I would be like a trapped rat in the city. I considered that Scotland would be best, for my people were Scotch, and I could pass anywhere as an ordinary Scotsman. I fixed on Galloway as the best place to go. It was the nearest wild part of Scotland, and from the look of the map was not overly thick with population. From London St Pancras on Sunday at 7:10. To Edinburgh by the looks of it. How was I to make my way to St Pancras station? I was pretty certain the Scudder's friends would be watching for me outside. This puzzled me for a bit. Then I had an inspiration, on which I went to bed and slept for 2 troubled hours. Waking up, I had a great revulsion of feeling and felt God-forgotten fool. My inclination was to let things slide and trust the British police taking a reasonable view of my case. But as I reviewed the situation, I could find no arguments to bring against my decision of the previous night. So with a wry mouth, I resolved to go on with my plan. I hunted out a well-used tweed suit, a pair of strong-nailed boots, and a flannel shirt with a collar. Into my pockets I stuffed a spare shirt, a cloth cap, some handkerchiefs, and a toothbrush. I took £50 of it in sovereigns in a belt where I had been brought back from Rhodesia. Just doing a little bit of tidying up, a bit of manscaping. Now came the next step. Paddock used to arrive punctually at 7:30 and let himself in with the latchkey. But about 20 minutes to 7, as I knew from a bitter experience, the milkman turned up with a greater clatter of cans and deposited my share outside my door. On him I staked all my chances. I went into the darkened smoking room, where I breakfasted off the whiskey and soda of some biscuits. By this time it was getting on for 6 o'clock. I put a pipe in my pocket and filled my pouch from the tobacco jar on the table by the fireplace. He'd hidden the book in the tobacco. Information collected. January to May 1914. It seemed a good omen.
Goodbye, old chap. I'm going to do my best for you. Wish me well, wherever you are.
I hung about in the hall waiting for the milkman. I was fairly choking to get out of doors. The fool had chosen this day of all to be late. And thus ends In the Soup. Third-class citizen, wanted by the police for murder, and by the real killers for knowing too much, Hannay must flee London. That is what we're going to do next time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the 39 steps. It's slowly building, isn't it? It's slowly building. It's slow pace for sure, but it's certainly it's got great atmosphere, and I'm loving the voice acting and the music as well. I hope you are too. If you are, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time for the further adventures in the 39 steps.